He's a busy man today, taking time out for us. Brian Windhorst of the Mothership, senior NBA writer. He was in the Garden last night. How would you compare that atmosphere? People talk about the Garden, the yesteryear of the atmosphere. How would you rank what you heard last night with other venues here in the last few years that you've covered?
The Garden fans are very well educated. They have a appreciation for the nuance of the game. It's like, I'll get criticized for this, but it's like saying who's got the best burger or who's got the best steak. You can get a great steak all across the world. A bad steak when you see it. You know a good steak when you see it. There's a lot of venues that you go to where it's a tremendous atmosphere in those venues. Where the Garden crowd is different is they're a more educated crowd. They applaud things that are higher level. The basketball fans there sort of all have graduate degrees, if you will, and but they love Jalen Brunson so much. They've been waiting for a player like this for so long, and I think it's really cool that they bring back it. So at every time out, Dan, in the playoffs, they do two things at the Garden. They show a celebrity, and there's, dozens to choose from. So first they'll show a celebrity, Ben Stiller, Tracy Morgan. I don't remember who was all there last night. And then they'll show in the playoffs a Nick great, Walt Frazier, John Starks, Larry Johnson. And that's an awesome thing. It's like, the Met Gala was going on here in New York last night.
Yeah.
But the place to be was the Garden. And so the celebrity, the Knicks greats, it was a great atmosphere. But I don't want to fall into the trap of saying, oh my God, you can't get a great burger outside. You can't get good pizza outside Manhattan or anything like that.
Yeah, because I remember being in there the first time when Bernard King was playing against the Celtics. And that environment was wonderful because there was, truly hated rival there. But I'm just curious because everything was better back when we were younger. And so I always want to be fair and go, okay, the Garden is alive. I just remember it felt different back then.
It's a lot nicer now since they renovated it about 10 years ago. When I first went there, my first NBA season 21 years ago, you hear about the world's most famous arena. It was kind of a dump. I mean, yeah, it's way nicer now. Yeah. Way nicer now. I always like going there. It's a great atmosphere. There's a buzz outside of it. And look, right now in the city, the Rangers are playing every other night. The Knicks are playing every other night. Tonight we got the Rangers are going to go up 2-0. It's a great time to be in the city because I used to live here, and when I lived here, it was like the bottom of New York sports. Even the Yankees were not even getting it done when I was here. There was a bunch of Yankees in the building last night. No Mets were honored.
How did the refs do last night?
I'm one of these guys who I feel like defends referees. I think one of the few in the media. My father was a referee. I tried to be a referee when I was a kid, and I hated it because of how hard it was and how you could never win. And so I am inclined to defend them. And I'm one of these people that says 99% of the time, the game is not decided by officiating. It drives me crazy when these teams blame like long-term officiating. I've honestly never really felt the same way about Daryl Morey since he released that dossier that he had when he was in Houston and said 13 months ago in the third quarter, we got screwed. And therefore, we should win tonight's game. As an educated man that Daryl is, it drives me crazy that he leans on that crutch. Having said all of that, this was a situation where the referees changed the outcome of the game. And to me, what seems to me is that everybody is really reacting to the moving screen call. Of course, you shouldn't call it there. However, by the letter of the law, it was an accurate call. And I don't think when the 2-minute report comes out today, I don't think they're going to say it was an incorrect call. To me, the much more impactful call was the kicked ball. And the reason is because the Pacers had generated a turnover. And if you watch the replay, it was a tie game with 40 seconds left. Okay. it was going to be a 3-on-1 break. The Knicks were either going to foul, where it could have been a take foul and they could have gotten a 3-point play, or they were going to go up a layup and they were going to be down 2. They were going to be calling timeout and the guard was going to be dead. Instead, the steal is called a kicked ball. It's not reviewable. The Knicks come out, hit a 3-pointer, puts them up by 3 with 30 seconds left. Now we have a 5-point swing in a tie game, in a tie playoff game in the last 40 seconds. That's the call. And I know they had a bad angle, and I know it's not reviewable. That's the call that Zach Zarba, who happens to be one of the top 3 officials in the league, in my opinion, has to come out and say to the reporters after the game, we got it wrong. They didn't get the moving screen call wrong. The spirit of the call was wrong. That call was called theoretically correctly. The kick ball is a tough pill to swallow if you're a Pacer fan.
But I don't want to slow down games any more than they've already been slowed down, but I want to get the call right. If we have the technology to get it right, and I don't know if there's a push in the offseason. Usually it takes something really dramatic where we go, now we got to change that. I don't know if this is that because the Knicks didn't lose the game, but you got a solution?
Nope. You know, I'm a bit of an English football fan, and over there they have this thing called VAR, which is their instant replay. And you want to start a fight in a pub, you bring up VAR. It's an extraordinarily controversial tactic, and it works super fast over there. Sometimes they'll let the soccer game play on, and then they'll go back 2-3 minutes and say, yeah, we reviewed that. We're going to give the guy a penalty kick. It's not common, but that happens. They have a much, much better system, and it's still coaches pull their hair out over it. And so I don't think there is a way to fix it. I know that this year has been as bad as ever because I have seen more calls overturned or upheld where I don't understand, and they have taken so much time, and I don't have an answer. What I do know is this is the best we have in basketball. The NBA referees are the best we have. You can say that, I don't mean you, Dan, but somebody can say that they stink. Somebody can say that they're awful. Somebody can say that this or that. Watch international basketball, watch college basketball. Can they be better? Should they be better? Yes. This is the best we got. So you're going to have to live with it.
He's Brian Windhorst of the Mothership, ESPN senior NBA writer at the Garden last night. Meanwhile, in Denver gets blown out, but I'm curious, now we have to wait until Friday for Game 3. Plenty of time for the home office to review what Jamal Murray did. How do you think they're going to view that with him throwing something on the floor?
I've never seen anything like it. First off, he is 100% inexcusably out of line there, has completely lost his composure because he's getting exploited by the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves watched the last series, saw that his calf injury was bothering him, which Michael Malone has admitted, and they're exploiting him. He is getting taken advantage of on the court. He hates it, and it's leading him to make some wild decisions. He throws a towel, and of course a towel, it's not a big deal, but you can't throw a towel at the official. That's what he's doing. He throws a towel at the official. It comes up short. When he realizes that it's hard to throw a towel 20 feet, he picks up something heavier and flings it at the official. Now, the NBA is going to interview him, and he may give some answer. He's throwing that at the official. So before we even talk about what the consequences are of throwing something wet and bulky like that out on a court, know that he was throwing an object, a heavy object, at an official. Yeah. That's number one. Then number two, it makes it onto the court and is a terrible hazard. I know that people probably don't understand what this heating pad is. I know this because I've never seen one of these, maybe outside of my grandmother's, bedroom in 1984. The NBA, it's technology driven as it is, uses like 1950s technology for these heating pads. They have these canisters on the bench that use steam heat to heat these sort of padded, maybe inch thick little pads. And then when the players come off the court, they use towels to wrap it around their backs and their legs to stay warm. Why they don't use something more modern, I don't know, but they're big, wet, and heavy. And that could have gotten under somebody's foot and caused an ankle injury, a knee injury, groin injury. Absolutely inexcusable and completely out of line for him to do it. The crazy thing is, now I don't blame the refs, Dan, for not calling it. They got their backs turned. It's coming from the end of the bench. They don't know where that came from. For all they know, it was an accident. It's a accoutrement from the bench. Stuff happens. But after the game, they were interviewed, and Mark Davis, the lead official, was the target of those objects, said if we had seen it, it would have been a technical. And the reporter follows up, a technical, not an ejection. He says, no, a technical. And so that makes me wonder, like, if that's the rule. And frankly, I haven't seen anything like that ever thrown on the court by a player. I've seen many, many players throw things off the court, and that's an automatic ejection. Whether you throw a piece of gum or you throw the basketball or you throw your assistant coach, anything in the stands is automatic ejection. From the stands onto the court as a player, I don't think there's clear precedent. But the league is going to have a serious thing to deal with here, if more than anything else, to protect its referees.
I brought this up with Dave McMenamin where I said, LeBron does that podcast with J.J. Redick. J.J. may be interviewing with Charlotte. I don't know if he already has. And I said, well, could you see where LeBron, J.J., maybe he's the head coach of the Lakers? And Dave goes, yes, I think he's one of the candidates. Like, how serious is this? I kind of brought it up as just, oh, okay, maybe. Would they discuss being the head coach of the Lakers?
Well, couple of things. First off, the Lakers have very few good candidates for the job. Not that JJ would be a bad candidate, but they have very few good candidates. There's not that many coaches available right now who are experienced and proven and ready to come to Los Angeles. You can say a name like Mike Budenholzer, but before you assume that a guy like Mike Budenholzer is going to go to the Lakers, you need to understand that the Lakers don't pay. They paid Phil Jackson an 8-figure salary. They did it kicking and screaming, and he was engaged to one of the owners at the time, and had won, by the time they paid it to him, had won numerous championships. I'm not sure what year they gave it to him. They have been outbid for a couple years ago. Ty Lue and Monty Williams turned him down because they didn't offer it. I mean, I can't say for exactly why, but their lowball contract offers were part of it. And so if you just assume that there's going to be a coach who wants to go in there like a Mike Budenholzer, the going rate for an elite coach now is 8 figures a year. And the Lakers, I'm not sure they're willing to pay that. That's number one. Maybe they are, but that's number one. Number two, this is one of the toughest situations to coach in the league. You have aging stars, which is one of the toughest things to coach in sports. You have a roster that could get better. They have some draft assets, but you really don't know how much it can get better. Man, look at the Western Conference, Dan. I was talking the other day to a coaching candidate who's going to be a candidate for some of these jobs. And he was saying to me, he's like, I'm kind of waiting for an Eastern Conference job because these Western Conference jobs, I mean, look at the Lakers. Which of the teams in front of them do you think are coming backwards? And look at behind them. They got the Rockets breathing down their neck. The Spurs are going to be coming up. Like, it's going to be a really hard job. What I would say to JJ is, here's the other thing I want to say real quick. LeBron doesn't get involved in coaching hires. For years, for many, many coaches, he's always taken a distance. In fact, and I can't say this for every candidate, but he generally has a rule, okay, that he won't engage with the candidate. After the coach has been hired, of course, he'll have a conversation with the coach. Generally, he wants to stay out of it. He doesn't want it on his hands. I know there's this belief that LeBron hires and fires all these coaches. But and maybe he does like hurt coaches because he sort of kills them with 1,000 paper cuts. But LeBron is very sensitive to that, and he does not want to be involved in that. So it's not going to be like he's going to go into Rob Pelinka and say, hey, I'm having a great time with JJ. You should hire him. That's just not reality. But what I would say to JJ, if he asks my opinion, which he won't, is that LeBron's friendships in the NBA, for the most part, tend to fall out as quick as they start. There is a long line of former teammates that he was buddies with that when it's over are gone. The true close people in his life have been close people in his life for 15 or 20 years. So just because anybody, and I'm not just saying JJ, just because Jim Smith is having a great time hanging out with LeBron in May doesn't mean it'll be a great time by December. That's what I would say just in general about all relationships with him in the NBA.
I know you're busy. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
That's Brian Windhorst, ESPN senior NBA writer. He always gives you something that you haven't heard. That's what I love about having him on. And he's got, it's you got to have the connect the dots, and all of a sudden you're thinking, all right, don't buy into that just because he's friends with JJ Redick, and he's right. Hey, LeBron loves you, and then all of a sudden LeBron doesn't love you, and then all of a sudden you're on another team.